We are now going to prepare our pattern pieces for our adjustments and getting ready for a layout to cut. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our pattern and get out our pattern pieces. So I'm going to save my instructions right back in here so that it's always in there, right? Don't misplace it. Set that aside. And now we're going to open up. And I've decided I'm going to cut a large. So what does that mean? Well, when I open it up and I start to see all these pieces, I realize I probably should be going in and finding a guide for what are the pieces I need. Where you'll find that is right here on our instruction sheet. When we open this up, and I know you can't see up close on this right now, but under this column where it says, has our line drawings, and here it has these pieces listed. Well, we're going to make B, C, or D, right? And right here, B, C, or D, they all use the same pieces. So it means I need 5 and 6, the front and the back piece. Those are those two right there, 5 and 6. And then it says I need the pocket, which is right there, number 7. So that's all I need. The other pieces are for the t-shirt, and the t-shirt cuff and the neckband and etc. and the sleeve. So we're going to find 3 pieces in here, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So I'm looking at this one and it says 3. Oh, there's 7. So what I'm going to do first is cut around this. I'm not going to cut on any lines. I'm just going to separate out this piece right now. And I have my paper scissors, but remember, tissue, probably you're fine cutting your other scissors. It's not like it's a heavy paper. So there's number 7, my pocket. That happens to be my pockets. Don't need number 3. We're going to set him aside for a bit. So we're ready to fold up the pieces we're not using. And looks like they've got number 5 already on just a separate piece in this one. So there's number 5 right here. So we're going to set him over here. And it looks like they have number 6 here, but they have that number 4, which is part of the t-shirt. So I'm going to cut him away, not on any lines. I'm leaving tissue around everything right now. Set him over there. And then we've got number 6. I'm going to set him aside. And then this looks like it's the t-shirt body, 1 and 2. So we're going to lay this back on here. Then we're going to lay the sleeve back in here. Okay. And now we can fold it. Fold them up again. Now, if this was a lot of extra pieces, I would be taking this over to my iron and pressing in a nice solid crease. But this isn't very thick, so we can just do this by hand. And we're able to, now that looks like it's a little bit longer than what our pattern envelope is. So I'm going to fold that down. And now those pieces that we're not using right on this project now can go right back into here. Okay. Now we have our 3 pieces we needed. And what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to go to the iron and press it. So I will meet you back here. When I do this at the iron, when I press it, I turn the iron down low. It's not on very high heat at all. And then literally I am ironing or pressing out all these wrinkles and making sure that I don't press in a wrinkle. Okay? I'll meet you back here. Oh, before I pause and get to the ironing table, I wanted to make sure you understood it was a dry iron, no steam on this paper. So it's lower heat and dry. Use no steam, no water on your tissue paper. Okay, I'll be back in a minute then. Okay, I'm back now from pressing my tissue pattern pieces in the area where the actual pattern is. Let me get out here. This is all going to be waste. So I just focused on getting this as smooth as I could and that there were no foldovers pressed into my pattern. Why do we want to do that? Pretty obvious, right? We want to get as accurate cut as we can, and we want to make sure that we are not reducing or changing the general shape of the pattern. If I had a little crease up in here that stayed there, and now I'm off at the top. I might be off on this seam when it needs to meet up with something. So you want to make sure you have no creases pressed into your pattern. Now would be the opportunity. Some of you have mentioned this, and there is a sewing technique that we would trace off this pattern. So laying a paper over it so you can see through it and tracing it, or putting it underneath with some tracing paper and tracing it. I prefer the opposite, not to like perforating it, or if I'm going to trace it, I want to have it laying out and putting my other paper, whether it be tissue or some other kind of papers. Actually, there is a Pellon interfacing, or it's not really an interfacing. They call it the tracing paper. It is a tracing paper. It doesn't have tracing like carbon on it. What it does is it's just so you can lay it right on top of this and then you see through it. Or you can use something like our medical exam paper. Now this is like, it comes in a roll, like our, like it's ready to go on the end of an examination table in your doctor's office or something. And so you could put this down and see through it enough. I probably can't on the camera very well, but that far away. But you could tape or pin this down and then just draw out, make sure that it's flat, you don't move it once you start, and you could trace that out, the size that you want. This medical exam tracing paper is really handy. I usually have a couple of rolls of it, and if you're going to do any adjustments, this is really what you need for your pattern adjustments. You can get it online, just medical exam paper, medical exam table paper, or you can go places locally like a medical supply place. The one that we usually send our West City campus people to is called Eric's Medical Supply, and it is on Linda Vista Road, kind of at the corner of Linda Vista and Morena Boulevard. But you can probably find it at any of the medical supply places or online, as I said. You may find something online at like Wawak and other sewing places that is actually called Swedish tracing paper. And it's just a tiny bit more stronger, sturdier than this. It's still see-through. It doesn't have carbon on it or anything. It's meant to do exactly like this, where you lay it on top of your pattern piece, and now you're going to trace it off. Why would you want to do that? Well, some people want to keep and maintain this so that they could use all of these stacked sizes at one time. I'm going to cut this pattern to be a large. If you wanted to have it for a large for someone, then you're also going to make a pair for, somebody else that needs to be a medium or a small or, the extra large, then you wouldn't have that any longer. So tracing off the size that you want to work with at that moment is a very feasible thing to do. If that was the case, you would trace it off, and then you would fold these back up and put them in your envelope. When you trace off a pattern, you want to make sure you're getting all of the grain lines, all of the shorten and lengthen lines, and we're going to talk about those pattern things here in just a moment. Actually, it'll be in the next video. Any kind of marking, you want to make sure you've traced that onto your traced off pattern, including any notches like that, crotch line, anything that is a significant marker on this, you need to trace that. Plus the size, or the piece number, the pattern naming piece, the name and number of the pattern that you need to cut two of it, all of that information needs to be transferred, which is why I don't do it very often. I will just purchase, if I know I'm going to be making this for multiple people, when I go to buy my patterns, I usually only buy them when they're on sale, and I try to get multiple sizes or multiple packages of the same size. Like this particular pattern, if I was going to buy it on sale, I would probably get 3, maybe all 4, if I thought I was going to have somebody in each of those ranges. And then that pattern just becomes, I'd mark it on the outside when I got ready to put it away, cut as a large. The next one I put cut as a medium, whatever that might be. Okay, so we've talked about getting the pattern ready to this point. We've pressed it, we've maybe traced it off. We're going to now wait to do any other kind of identification on the size and no further cutting out until we're ready to do our measurements of the pattern versus the measurements that you want it to be, and checking for any kind of adjustments that we need to do. We're also going to mark in a buttonhole when we get ready to do that, so we know where the buttonhole is. Okay, that's it for, oh, no, I know what I was going to show you. Now, let's say you got this part done, and now you're going to wait until you're ready to do the other. What I will do is put it over a hanger, and this one looks like it's not going to be big enough. Nope. So we would want to get, I don't think I have any wider hangers, but what we can do is something like this at one end, this narrower end. And the part that I'm letting wrinkle is not the pattern. So I'm putting that over. And I'm going to take a couple of pins or clip things, whichever you have handy. And I will pin it to my hanger. I'll put the other ones on there. And now this is ready to hang up and waiting for you to do your next procedure on it. So I'm going to fold this one over it as well and get it all hung up, and I'll see you next time. Bye.